In today's video, we're going to be taking a recent 4th place finish by X-File through a League of Modern. This deck is called Jeskai Stoneblade. It is playing the Stoneforge Mystic alongside powerful Jeskai color cards. And when looking at this list, it is playing some strange cards. The fact that it's running 2 Ephemerate and 1 Lightning Bolt alongside with a Shadow Spear without an Urza Saga is a crazy concept. This in addition to the Evoke Elementals and the One Ring being in this list, it just seems like it's a bunch of powerful cards put together. And the cherry on top is Cleave, which is a 6 mana equipment that has flash that says this spell costs 1 less for each attacking creature you control. When it enters the battlefield, attach it to a creature, and that creature gets +1/+1 and has double strike and trample. And while this does not seem like a modern power level card, it will win us multiple games in this league. So we're going to be taking this crazy Stoneforge Mystic, One Ring, and Cleave brew through a League of Modern. Match 1, we're on the play, and hand looks fine. We'll go turn 1 tap Fountain. Opponent plays a Verdant, we top deck an Ending, we'll play out our Hall and cast a Stoneforge. And this is a pretty easy Cauldron pickup. They fetch out a Blood Crypt and then play a Forest into a Wrenn. So I guess we're gonna have Cauldron here. Yeah, definitely pretty happy with it. I guess we're just putting in Cauldron and killing the Wrenn in 6. And that just happens, so then we'll run out of tap Steam Vents. And opponent scoops it up, so let's get on to sideboarding. And I don't think we want anything here, so we'll just submit as is. Game 2, our hand's a little slow, but we will keep. They go turn 1 Verdant, we draw land, and we'll go turn 1 Triumph. They shock in the Stomping Ground and then play out a Wrenn. We find another land, we'll evoke out a Fury, killing their Wrenn, and then play a tap Steam Vents. They play a Den of the Bugbear, and we will draw another land. We'll fetch out an island and play our Teferi, and we'll down tick just drawing a card now. Stoneforge, not a bad draw, and they have another Wrenn in 6. Then they play out a Swamp and bolt down our Teferi, taking up the Wrenn. Another land for us. We'll fetch out a land, picking up another island, and play out our One Ring, and we'll draw a card now. They play a Verdant, fetching a Blood Crypt, and tick up with Wrenn, and nothing else from them. Another land for us. Well, we'll draw 2 with the One Ring, and then we'll play out a Teferi, and we'll just tick up here, then play out a Flooded Strand. They cast out a Tarmogoyf, then they play a Swamp into a kicked out Torok, and in response we will bolt this down, and we lose our Otawara and a Stoneforge. Then they tick up with the Wrenn. Fury is a great draw. We'll activate the One Ring, drawing 3, and Ephemerate as well, so then we're going to down tick, picking up our One Ring, and then we'll play out another One Ring, drawing a card now, finding a Solitude as well, and we'll play out a tapped Hollowed Fountain, and then go to discard, getting rid of a land. They go straight to combat, trying to kill our Teferi. So we'll evoke out a Solitude, pitching a Teferi, killing their Tarmogoyf, and we're not going to Ephemerate. Then they bolt down our Teferi. They fetch out a Forest, then tick up with Wrenn. Top deck our Plains, we'll draw 2 with the One Ring, find another Stoneforge. We'll run out our Fury, dealing 4 to their Wrenn, then play a tap Steam Vents. They cast out a Fable. They fetch out a Mountain, ticking up with the Wrenn, and they do nothing else. We top deck a Sentinel, we'll draw 3 cards of the One Ring, then we'll cast out a Stoneforge, and we'll pick up our Shadow Spear here, playing it out, and then we're going to equip it to our Fury. Oh, and they have a Boseiju. So we'll pick up our last land in our deck, and we'll attack them. And they take all of it. Then we'll cast our Ephemerate on our Fury, and we'll deal 2 to their Shaman and 2 to their Wrenn. Play out our Plains, and then cast another Stoneforge. And this one will pick up a Cauldron. They use Fable to get rid of 2 lands. Then they play an EE out for 2, popping it, blowing up our 2 Stoneforge Mystics, and killing their Wrenn. Then they cast a Thoughtseize. And sadly, they do have to take our Cauldron. And then they run out another Fable. They play a Bloodstained Mire passing. We're not going to use our Ephemerate, and we're going to lose 3 life off of our One Ring. Find a Ragman, we'll draw 4. And sadly, we did not find a way to win just yet, so we'll cast an EI. And Prismatic Ending should do it, so we'll put Solitude in the hand, Ragman on the bottom, Prismatic Ending in the exile, kill their Goblin Shaman, and we'll dash out a Monkey. And this should be lethal. And we end up taking the win here. Pretty impressive, so let's get on to match 2. Match 2, we're on the play, and hand's a little weird, but definitely a keep. We'll lead on turn 1 Triumph. It goes turn 1 Mesa. And I think we should actually play this slow here. So we're going to play out a tap Sacred Foundry rather than running out our Stoneforge. They play out another Triumph. We'll shock in a Steam Vents and then cast out a Stoneforge. And we'll pick up a Cauldron. And on the instep, they try and bolt our Stoneforge, so we will Ephemerate this. And this one will pick up Shadow Spear. They fetch out a Mountain into a Bitter Union, meaning we are up against creativity of some sort. And it looks like they don't have an answer for a Stoneforge. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to slam the One Ring or slam a Cauldron here. This definitely could be wrong, but I'm going to activate our Stoneforge, put it in Cauldron. Then I'm going to shock in the Steam Vents and dash out a Ragavan, and we'll attack them for 7, finding an Archon, and we'll pass back. Oh, and they do have a Persist. So that means they're going to get 2 triggers off the Archon here, and they, in response to the trigger, bolt our Stoneforge as well. So we're just going to scoop it up here. We're just too far behind. Let's get on to sideboarding. We're going to bring in 2 Hallowed Moonlight, 2 Vetoes, and 2 Mystical Disputes for an Ephemerate, Lightning Bolt, Prismatic Ending, 2 Solitudes, and an Ember Cleave. Game 2, our starter has no land, so we gotta go down to 6. And our 6 is very, very risky, but I think we're gonna keep it. And we'll put back a Teferi. We'll go turn 1 Fetch Shock for a Sacred Foundry, and go turn 1 Rag. And they have a tap lane, so we'll attack him with Rag. Come on, running 6 off the top. Nothing for us, so we just gotta pass, holding up an Ephemerate. And they go Fetch Shock into a Wrenn. Let's see if they down tick here. And they do, so we will go an Ephemerate, and we will not rebound it. Still no land for us, and we will attack them again. Finding a Sundering Titan? What? Guess that's fine. We'll cast an ending on their Wrenn 6. They play out a Bitter Reunion, discarding Besage You, drawing 2. And another tap land, so another turn of connecting with Rag. Come on, land. That kind of works. We'll attack in. We exile another land. We'll play out our Otawara and cast out a Stoneforge. And we will pick up a Cauldron. And they bolt down our Stoneforge. And nothing after that. Missing a land drop, crazy. We'll attack in with our Rag. Finding a Mana Leak. Ooh. So we'll play an island and slam our One Ring, holding up our own Mana Leak. And they do go for a Mana Leak, so we'll use their Mana Leak to Mana Leak their Mana Leak. And we'll draw a card now, playing around Leyline Binding. And they slam a Fable. And I think this game's all but over. We top deck a Stoneforge. We'll draw 2 with the One Ring. Finding some pretty good ones. We'll slam it to Fairy. And we'll bounce their token and then get in with our Rag. And we exile a Bitter Reunion, which we will not cast. And they discard a Creativity and a Persist. And they do nothing else other than playing out of land. And we find another One Ring. We'll take up with our Teferi, draw 3 with our One Ring. We'll attack them with our Ragavan. And they fetch a Dwarf and do not block. So they're down to 4. And we find a Bolt. So we will definitely fire that off. Then we'll run out a Sentinel. And then we'll fetch Shock and play out one of our Stoneforges. And opponent untaps, slamming a Creativity, giving us a card off of our Esper Sentinel. And we find a Solitude. So we'll evoke it out and not show them Hallowed Moonlight here. And they scoop it up. Let's get on to the game 3. Game 3, we're going to bring in our Gemstone Caverns and a Prismatic Ending and cut our Solitudes. Game 3, our hand's a little risky, but we will keep. They go turn 1 Dwarven Mine, and we'll just play a Mesa. And they fetch Shock, playing out a Bitter Union, discarding an Archon. That is terrifying. And we find an Ephemerate. So we'll play out a Ragavan and play a Flooded Strand. Kind of faking that we do have a Spell Pierce here. Yeah, and they have a Persist. Not really sure if we can beat this. So we just gotta let it happen, sadly. And we sacrifice our Ragavan, discarding an Ephemerate. Then they fetch Shock, and assumingly they're just sacking their Union to give this haste. And yeah, they do make that play. And we'll discard an ending. We find a Stoneforge Mystic, so we go Plains and slam our Teferi, and we'll bounce their Archon. They play out a Foothills, fetching a Dwarven Mine. And then they slam a Creativity, getting an Archon. So we'll sack Teferi and discard a land, seeing if we can find something off the top here. And we find a One Ring, which I guess does keep us alive here. Not great though. And we might as well draw a card now. Plays a Scalding Tarn into a Fable. And we take 1 on our upkeep, going down to 2. And we do find a Shadow Spear. I'm not sure what the heck we can find off this One Ring, but I guess we're activating it. And they do have a Bolt. So the opponent has us here. So let's get on to match number 3. Match number 3, we're on the draw, and our hand's just 2 weak, so we got them all. And our 6 is strong, we'll put back a Cauldron. Opponent goes turn 1 Steam Vents into a Ragavan. We find a Sentinel, we'll Shock in a Hallowed Fountain, and then Prismatic Ending their Rag. They play a Tarn, we top deck another Ending, we'll lead on our Esper Sentinel, which does meet a counter spell. And then we'll Shock in our Steam Vents, holding up a Bolt. They play a Misty into a DRC, and nothing else from them, so we'll Bolt this and then stop. And this meets a counter spell, giving them a Surveil. So if we top deck a land, we get to slam it to Fairy here, which would be nice. Oh, that's such a bad draw. I guess we'll Ending this DRC. Then they slam out a Murktide Region on their turn. Again, give us land, please. Come on, land. Alright. They untap, casting an EI, and that exiles a Steam Vent, so it's a Shock in, and then dash out a Ragavan. They connect for 7, and then exile our land. No. Then they cast out a Bauble, and we find a tapped land. Unfortunate. We'll play that, and we're going to concede because we're too far behind, so let's get on to sideboarding. We're going to bring in 2 Mystical Disputes and 2 Dovin's Veto for 2 Ephemerates, an Ember Cleave, and a Fury. Game 2, our hand is a little weak, but we will keep. We'll lead on an Aired Mesa, holding up Bolt or Triome Fetch. They lead on a Canal, and we top deck a Dispute. We'll play out our Hull and slam our Stoneforge, and that meets a Spell Snare. They play out a Tarn, we draw a Prismatic Ending, and we'll play out our Tarn. Opponent plays out an Islet, passing, and we top deck land. We'll play it out, passing. Opponent plays out an Island into a Ledger Shutter, and nothing else from them. We top deck a Solitude, and we'll cast a Prismatic Ending on this Ledger Shutter, and they cast a counter spell on our Prismatic Ending, which is fine. Opponent untaps, casting out Consider. Then they cast out a Bauble, conniving with Shredder, and in response, we will try and bolt their Shredder, and that happens, but they still get a connive. Then they cast out a Murktide, and we will fetch Shock, getting a Hallowed Fountain, and try and Mystical Dispute this. And they don't have anything for that, so that resolves. And we top deck a Sentinel, not a great draw, but we will cast it. They play out an Island, and then cast out Holy Heat, paying for the Sentinel. And then they dash out a Ragavan, and it connects, exiling one of our lands and making a treasure. And we do top deck a Plains, which means we can cast our Solitude here. They dash out another Ragavan, going in for the attack, and we'll cast out our Solitude, and we'll exile their Ragavan. Then they cast out an EI, exiling a Mishra's Bauble, casting it out, and then casting out a 5/5 Murktide. We find a Mesa, we'll attack in for 3, and they make the block, and then we'll cast out our Fury, killing their Murktide. And then we'll play out our Mesa. Hopefully we can find a land next turn for our Cauldron. They play out a Seasoned Pyromancer, discarding 2 lands and then playing out a Tarn. And we do find a Sacred Foundry, so we'll shock this in, and we'll fetch out a land here, picking up a Steam Vents, and then we will slam down our Cauldron. And that just resolves, and we'll attack in with both creatures. And they make a chump block on our Fury with their Spyro. They play out a Bauble, looking at their top. Then they cast down EI. They exile a Spire Bluff, playing that out. Cast on Holy Heat, killing our Fury. And then dash out a Ragavan. And they connect with Ragavan, but I don't know what can save them here, because I think we just have lethal on board. We draw Stoneforge, we'll activate our Hall, and they scoop it up. Let's get on to game 3. Game 3, we're going to bring in a Gemstone Caverns for Dovin's Veto. Game 3, we will keep our 7. They go turn 1 Steam Vents into DRC. And we top deck a Strand. We're going to play out our Plains and lead on a Prismatic Ending. They play out a Spire Bluff into Ledger Shredder, Conniving. And they do discard an island here. Then they bobble us, looking at our top. Scalding Tarn, not a great pickup. We'll play out a Strand, fetch out an island, somewhat playing around a Blood Moon in case they have it, and slam our Stoneforge Mystic, picking up a Kaldra. They play out a Strand and attacking with their Shredder. And nothing else from them, keeping our Stoneforge alive, so we're going to put in our Kaldra right now. And I'm not sure what they have to beat this. So we'll attack in for 5. Then we'll play out a Tarn, passing back. And nothing on our end step, just playing out a Fiery Islet. Our opponent's hand must be just so bad. And again, nothing from the opponent. I'm assuming this must be an Otawara on our Germ. We'll pick up a Steam Vents, and we find a Sentinel. We're going to dash out our Ragavan, and that meets a counterspell. Then we'll attack in for another 5. Then we'll play out our Triumph and plan on playing a Fury next turn, possibly. And on our end step, they crack their Islet. They play out a Bauble, looking at our top, and then cast out a Murktide, conniving away a Spell Pierce, and it's only a 4/4. Then they run out another Bauble, looking at our top once again. Then they attack in with their Ledger Shredder. We top deck a Dovin's Veto. We'll play out our Gonjo, and we'll cast a Fury out here. And opponent scoops it up. Let's get on to match number 4. Match 4, we're on the draw, and our hand's a little slow, but we will keep. An opponent leads on a Burn It Inquiry, discarding 2 Hollowed Ones, and our hand gets a little bit better, and they look at our top with their Bauble. We top deck a Hallowed Fountain, we'll shock it in, and cast out our Sentinel. They fetch shock in a Blood Crypt, then cast an Inquiry, paying the 1 to not let us draw off Sentinel. Oh my, our hand got way better here, and they did discard an Ox of Agonis. We'll attack in with the Sentinel, then we'll fetch shock out of Steam Vents, and cast out our Stoneforge. And I guess this is Ember Cleave time. Opponent plays out of Cliffs into a Spyro, discarding a land and another Spyro. And the One Ring is a great top deck. We'll activate our Stoneforge, put it in a Cauldron, then we'll attack in for 5. And I'm not sure how our opponent can beat Bolt and Ember Cleave here. They cast out a Bauble, and in response to this, they flash in a Bowmasters, going to ping our Esper Sentinel. And in response to this, we will bolt down their Bowmasters. Then Bowmaster kills our creature, and we top deck a Solitude off of the Esper Sentinel draw. Then they cast out an Infernal Plunge. Then they escape out their Ox of Agonis, drawing 3. Then they play out a land into Goblin Lore, playing out another Bauble. And before they pass, they crack all their Baubles. We top deck a Prismatic Ending, and we're just going to go for playing out this Ember Cleave here. I'm not sure if they can actually chump block to even survive here. And we'll attack in here, and they triple block, and we're going to order blocks like this. And we're going to deal 3 damage to the Elemental token, 1 damage to Spyro, and 2 damage to the Ox, meaning that these will get exiled. Oh, and I messed it up a little bit. I accidentally dealt too much to a Spyro. But we do end up exiling the Ox of Agonis, which is the most important. And then they take 6, going down to 3. They play out a Blood Crypt into Unearthing a Bowmasters, dealing 1 damage to us. Then they cast a Burn Inquiry, and in response, we will cast our Solitude, pitching our Prismatic Ending, and we will take down their Bowmasters. And our hand stays essentially the same. And they scoop it up. Let's get on to sideboarding. We're going to take out 2 Teferis for 2 Wear Tear. Game 2, our hand is a little awkward with a bunch of equipment, but this is a keep. Opponent goes turn 1 Blackleaf Cliffs, and we'll go shock in our Hollow Fountain, playing out a Sentinel. They play out a Swamp into a Bowmasters, taking down our Sentinel. We draw another land, we'll shock in our Steam Fence, and cast out a Stoneforge. And this is picking up our only option, Ember Cleave. Then opponent plays out a Dothi. And again, it looks like we get an uncontested Stoneforge, so we'll just put in our Cauldron here. And in response, they Surgical our Esper Sentinels. What the heck? And we'll put in our Cauldron. And we'll also play our Island, playing out our Shadow Sphere. Then attack in for 5. They cast out a DRC and attacks in with their Dothi. But it kind of seems like they're just going to be really screwed here. We'll shock in a Steam Vents, equip our Shadow Spirit to the Germ, activate our Stoneforge Mystic, put in an Ember Cleave. And it seems like they have to chump with basically everything, and they just scoop it up. So let's get on to match number 5. Match 5, we're on the draw, and our hand looks great. And looks like we're up against a Burn Gamer. Goblin Guide reveals a Fury. We'll play out our Plains and cast an Ending, killing the Guide. Opponent plays out a Sunbaked Canyon. We top deck a Fury. We'll fetch out an Island, casting out a Stoneforge Mystic, and I think we need to pick up a Shadow Spear, as weird as that seems. And they crack the Canyon on the end step? What the heck? And opponent scoops it up? What the what? I guess we'll get on to sideboarding. For sideboarding, we're going to bring in 2 Wear Tears, Gemstone Caverns for Ember Cleave, and 2 Expressive Iterations. And our starting starting hand for game 2 looks pretty amazing. Opponent goes turn 1 Sunbake Cannon into a Swift Spear. We top deck a Scalding Tarn. We'll play the Tarn out, fetch Shock, picking up a Foundry, and I think we'll play out an Esper Sentinel here. Opponent suspends a Rift Bolt and attacks in for 1. Another 1 lander from the opponent. Crazy. We'll play out a Hall, and we will dash out a Ragavan. And we exile a Skullcrack off of the Ragavan, so we're just going to pass back. And their upkeep, they Rift Bolt us, getting a Prowess Trigger, and also land a Straw card. They play out another Swift Spear and attack in for 3. We pick up a Stoneforge Mystic. We'll play out our Bloodstrand, picking up a Plains, casting out a Stoneforge, and we'll pick up a Shadow Spear. Then we'll play out a Ragavan, and then cast a Prismatic Ending, taking out one of the Swift Spears. And we might as well poke in for 1. Opponent plays out an Inspiring Vantage and attacks in for 1. And we'll throw our Stoneforge in front of the Swift Spear. And they cast a Searing Blaze, giving us another draw and killing our Ragavan. We top deck a Steam Vents. We'll play out our Otawara, Prismatic Ending their Swift Spear. Then we'll play out our Shadow Spear and equip it to our Sentinel. And we'll attack in for 2, going up to 7. They play out a Vantage, passing back. We'll attack in with our Sentinel. And they go for a Skullcrack, giving us another draw, which finds us an island. And we're gonna go down to 4 here. Definitely risky. Then we'll play out a Stoneforge Mystic, picking up a Cauldra, and play out a tap land. And opponent has a Flame Rift here. Close game. Let's get on to game 3. Game 3, we're gonna take out Gemstone Caverns and put in a veto. Game 3, our starting hand looks amazing here. We'll go turn 1 Fetch Shock, picking up a Foundry, and playing out a Ragavan. Opponent goes turn 1 Vantage into a Swift Spear, and they are attacking bold. We top deck a Fountain. We'll attack in with our Rag, finding a Boros Charm. We'll play out our Strand, fetch out a Island, and cast out our Teferi. And we will bounce their Swift Spear here, picking up a Bolt. They play a Mountain into another Swift Spear, casting a Lava Spike, putting us down to 12. And they're ignoring our Teferi. We top deck another Ragavan. We'll attack in. We'll take up with our Teferi, and we exiled a Sunbake Canyon. We'll play out our Otawara and cast out our One Ring. They play out a Woodfoot Hills, and they don't even attack. And we're not going to activate our One Ring because we don't want to lose any life here. We top deck a Cauldra. We'll take up our Teferi. Let's go to combat, offering the trade with Ragavan. And they don't take the trade, letting us get a treasure, and we find a Lava Spike. So we'll bolt down their Swift Spear, Lava Spike the opponent, and then play a tapped Fountain. And again, we're not activating this One Ring because going down to 9 is too risky. They play out a land, casting a Searing Blaze, killing our Ragavan. Then they cast a Skewer of the Critics, putting us down to 4. Oh, and this is so risky. I don't know what to do. I think we are going to activate the One Ring here, finding a Fury. We top deck Naganjo, and we'll draw 2 off our One Ring. And we do find a Solitude. God, this is such a hard turn. I'm not sure what the right play is. I think we had to make a really risky play here and bounce our One Ring with the Teferi. Find another land. We'll play out our Naganjo, and then cast out a One Ring. And then we'll cast out a Ragavan. They play out a Sunbake Canyon, and on their end step, we will draw a card with the One Ring, finding a Scalding Tarn. And they go for a Boros Charm. I guess we have to draw 2 here. Come on, Dovin's Veto. Oh, they have another Boros Charm. Yeah, we're just dead here. Our opponent got us barely, getting a nice 3-2 though for the deck. Ember Cleave being in the deck is so cool. And the fact that we even got some wins with it was even better. But I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please consider leaving a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.